Well, you know, they would kill them. One guy would kill a whole crew by themselves.
What?
That's how good they were. You know what I'm saying? So everybody had their flavor. I mean, you see today like a basketball team, you might see a Michael Jordan, and Michael Jordan is like the best guy in their crew.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the same thing with other crews. You know, there was always one or two that were good. Rocksteady had like 3 or 4 people that were good. Dynamic had a little more, I think. I don't know. That's my opinion, and that's my opinion. It's my opinion. Everybody could see Dynamic and see Rocksteady and say, well, I think Rocksteady's different, you know, much better.
Yeah,
but I thought Kid Freeze and Wavy Legs, Spider came with something, Glide came with something. Then you had Airborne and Gano and Flip had something, you know, and then, you know, Dynamic became so big that they had so many members that they always have members that can always come, you know. Black Flip was another guy that had, you know, good moves. And then you had Spinner, and, you know, you had, you know, Louis Newmave was a papa, rest in peace. Then you had like many other, you know, people, you know, Susie. You had girls that were in Dynamic Dolls. I mean, come on. I mean, everybody should get their props. I mean, New York City Breakers should get it. Scrambling Feet should get it. Break to Dawn. You know, there were mad crews in Brooklyn. Mad crews.
Yeah.
Everybody knows, like, you know, Float. They know, like, they had other people with gymnastics that came. You know, there was so many flips back then that, you know, you didn't know what flip. You had to ask them, what flip you from? Oh, I'm from Scrambling. I'm from Dynamic. I'm from this crew, because everybody, you know, flipped. So they got flipped from New York City Breakers. Then you had German. You know, so there were different people out there that really was, you know, good in b-boying, but, you know, in rocking, it was always different, man. I think Dynasty had the all-star team.
Oh yeah.
With Black Tony, Danny Boy, Carlos, Manny, Mike, me, White Boy Tony, you know, and then Professor. You know, then we were like an all-star team. You know, I mean, you lined us all up. You better have a good squad. I mean, Touch of Rock had Cuz, Buzz, Duz. They had Noel. You know, they had Snoopy, which was good. You know, that was Buzz's partner.
Yeah.
You know, but like I said, it was always Danny Boy and Carlos, the big name of Dynasty, and Buzz and Snoopy.
What I want to ask you, where you used to practice rocking, and how you used to practice, like. Where you guys had like a basement, or like where's the spot, and how you guys used to practice?
Well, we used to practice in the beginning in the Danny Boy's house. Danny Boy's house or Manny's house.
Okay.
You know, but Manny's house had equipment from Dynasty, you know. So we used to practice there, or Carlos, because Carlos from Dynasty had, but Carlos' mother used to throw us out. We used to practice either downstairs in the base, like outside or in the backyard or something. And then after a while, you know, we used to go to Danny Boy's house. We went like to different places. It wasn't like we had I mean, we were young, so it wasn't like we could afford a place.
Yeah.
So we had to find a place, you know, or we'll practice in the schoolyard or a park or something. But then after a while, you know, we used to practice in my basement. I used to live in Hancock. So the juniors and all those people used to hang out with me, because I had equipment eventually, and they started practicing in my basement. So
the Junior Dynasty?
Yeah, Junior Dynasty. So after a while, we got hooked up. I knew Brat from Explosive Rockers. And me and Brat was real cool. So Brat used to have a big basement. After a while, I wound up bringing Dynasty there, and we made that our practice place. You know,
nice.
But we taught Explosive how to uprock. We helped them, but in return they let us use their basement. We used to throw parties there, hooky parties. So Danny Boy and Manny and Carlos, they made that like a clubhouse.
Nice.
You know, they took over the guy's basement. I was like, oh, you sweat. You know, but it wasn't, you know, it wasn't like no disrespect, but, you know, Brat used to let us do whatever we want, you know, because they love Dynasty, you know, so we, you know, we wind up doing little parties there and stuff.
Nice. I want to ask you, how did you become King Uprock?
Well, 1980, when I said before,
and what was your name before that?
Well, my name before was always, they used to call me RC as my name, Ralph Casanova, and I used to write RC1, you know.
Okay.
And I used to write Cas because my last name is Casanova, but I used to write Cas as short. So in 1980, when Little Dennis threw that rock contest, I won, and in the final it was me and Little Dave, and you know, and we danced to Life on Mars, and I won. And when I won them, and I had gotten shot in my neck, I got 844 stitches. I left the hospital, you know, a week before I got shot. A week after I got shot, I left the hospital to join that contest. And everybody looked at me with the stitches in my neck like, yo, you crazy, you're gonna die. You know, I'm like, well, I'm gonna win this thing, you know. And I finally won. I won the contest. And everybody, all the older guys who were there, like, oh, you're the new king on the block. So when I heard that king on the block, I'm like, oh, so you're trying to say like I'm the best? I decided to call myself King Uprock because for the guys who died, for the guys who were locked up, and for the guys who don't dance no more, I wanted to represent King Uprock as representing rocking for all those who I looked up to and those who I danced, and those that didn't get a chance to dance against me or get a chance to enter this contest. I wanted to, you know, represent that name for them. That name is representing that all those guys that I used to look up to, that they were all kings, and I'm a king now too. I'm in the family of the king. Right. You know, so King Uprock represents those guys. You know, and I always wanted to keep King Uprock represent for all the Uprock crews in Brooklyn, because we never got no respect or no light in anything we did. We struggled so much, and B-boys, I mean, they went out and did their thing. They wind up in B Street and wind up in certain movies. Meanwhile, Brooklyn had their own history besides the Bronx, and we never got our history told. And I figure, you know what? When my turn comes, I'm going to give our history. I'm going to represent for Brooklyn, because that's where I learned it at. If I learned in the Bronx, then I have to give it, then I have to, give respect to the Bronx. But I learned rocking from Brooklyn, and that's it. That's it. And if I learned it from Brooklyn, that's where I learned it from. And I'm gonna give my respects to Brooklyn.
Nice. What rockers did you battle back then? Can you give me some names?
Well, like I said, Nasty, one-on-one rockers, Just Begun rockers, Incredible rockers.
Wow. Nice.
There were so many crews. I don't have all the names in front of me, but I battled against MTC, in the contest, and I battled, a lot of guys, and battled a lot of crews, but I wasn't really like going out there looking for battles. Mm-hmm. If I went to a place and people try to step to me, of course I'm gonna roast you. Mm-hmm. But I was friendly with a lot of Uprock crews because I was a humble person, and the same way I respected them, they respected me. And then after they knew how good I was, nobody wanted to dance me. Mm-hmm. In the beginning, when nobody knew who I was, and I was just climbing up the ladder, I had a couple of battles, and I was ripping everybody apart. And then when I started beating guys who had a name, everybody was like, "Yo, you heard of RC? No, who's that?" And then they would look for me, and to see me then, they were like, "Oh, I'm not dancing that guy." So I had to put a lot of fear in people's heart that they didn't want to dance with me. I think the only ones who they gave me competition was either my guys in my crew, or guys from Touch of Rock, or MTC Jitterbugs, or Dynamic Spinners. Nice. Or MTC Jitterbugs. And eventually, I wound up with some of those guys. I did my thing.
Where you learned your unique style of burning, because you're very good at burning, and you make people laugh, and it's like your style is very different from many rockers out there.
Well, like I said, my mother showed me that when you dance, movement should come from the body and the footwork. And she told me always have character. Show what you're trying to. When you want to rank on somebody, you say something and you make people laugh. But now you have to say it